2026, our continuing conversation where we talk about all different types of topics. Current events, we talk about politics, we talk about race, we talk about religion, everything that you can think of. That's what we talk about. And as always, we invite you to type your questions and your comments into the comment section. Feel free to join us there. Uh, if you have anything that you want to say, you want to agree, you want to disagree, you want to just give your 2 cents, as they say. Just type it in, whether you're on Facebook or YouTube. It'll come up on the screen and we will be able to see it and we will discuss it. So, again, type your comments right there up on the screen. As always, I like to remind people of the other offerings that we have here. We have a Bible study on Thursdays, Thursday Thirst. That is at 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. That is on Facebook and YouTube. Um, on Sundays at 10 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time, we have a time of worship. That's on Facebook, YouTube, and in person at the address that's on your screen. And then on Tuesdays at 7 o'clock, from 7 to 7:45, we have a time of prayer. Please pray during that time, and you will be praying with the ministry. You have to pray the whole entire time, just any time between 7 and 7:45. That means you're praying with us. And as always, Impact 2026. All right, we're going to jump right into our topic today. Uh, this is one of those, I don't know what you call it, internet things, social media type things. So, what is going on is that Tuskegee University, the historic Tuskegee University, one of our great HBCUs, has a new dress code that they decided to enact. And so this dress code has been a hot button topic. And so the dress code, it bans bonnets and do-rags on campus. And it also, if you go even deeper, it also says that if you're coming to any kind of formal type situation, that you need to be dressed up, like business kind of clothes. And so it's been a weird little topic. And so some of the things that people have said is, wow, that's great. We don't need to be dressed any kind of way and looking any kind of way, looking bummy or whatever. But then other people have come back and they've talked about it and saying that it's a slap in the face. One, you shouldn't be restricting how people want to express themselves. But two, because you've kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? You kind of focused in on quote unquote black things, do-rags and bonnets, that you're kind of making fun of black people or you're punishing blackness, and even though it's HBCU. And so there has been complaints back and forth. And so what we're going to do is we're going to discuss that. We are going to discuss, is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Does it bring any value to the collegiate experience or the educational experience? And we're going to talk about it a little bit beyond just, Tuskegee, but just what it means in kind of in the greater world and the greater society. So I have a guest. I got not just a guest, I have an expert in this area because went to HBCU, is in the educational field, so he kind of knows about these things. And we're going to talk through this. Yep, so I got you here. Steve, how are we doing today?
Good evening.
Yes, sir. So, Tuskegee, the historic Alabama institution,
Yeah.
has decided that they are going to have, they're banned, their dress code, banning bonnets, do-rags, and just basically having, really relaxed attire when you're in the classroom, when you're around at the formal events at the university. What do you think about that? What's your initial thoughts? Like, if you were in school and then they hit you with that, like, what are your initial thoughts?
So if I was in school when this was to happen, I mean, we went to school in the late '90s, early 2000s, or the
Hmm.
last of the '90s, if you will. And there were professors that would not let you come in looking crazy. Well, let me say not looking crazy. They wanted you to be more professional than casual, and what I would say overly casual. There were some professors that did not want you to look like you just got out of bed.
Hmm.
I know I was in the band in HBCU, and my director of bands would not allow that. Only time we were allowed to look like we just got out of bed is when we had a 5 a.m. Call for a trip to Tuskegee, where we once played, or Alabama, somewhere in Alabama where Tuskegee is, Florida, somewhere up north, Connecticut. If we had to leave
Hmm.
at 4 or 5 in the morning, we are going to go to sleep on the bus, so it was okay. But once we got off that bus to get breakfast, to go to a restaurant, to go to a mall, you had to look presentable. And I applaud Tuskegee because we're getting away from the standards that our HBCUs once set. And I applaud that. And I hope more schools do this.
Got a comment? Absolutely, absolutely. Got a comment. I don't think students should attend class in bedroom attire. Yes, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I know when I was in school, when you were in school, it was a big thing with some of the sororities that they made sure that uh, you know the young ladies didn't go around looking crazy. Like you couldn't come out with your hair halfway done or be wearing a bonnet,
Mm-hmm.
or
Mm-hmm.
you couldn't come out looking a certain way. So certain organizations, certain sororities or other organizations that said, hey, we got standards. You have to abide by
Mm-hmm.
those standards. It wasn't school wide because you had a lot of people from different places and different backgrounds. Um, is it now to the people who come from different locations, from some different backgrounds, some different
Mm-hmm.
socioeconomic situations who may complain? What would be the response then to them? Because that's what people are pointing out. They're like, look, everybody don't come from the same place. We don't all have the same
Yeah.
clothes. Um,
Mm-hmm.
is it fair to them?
I wouldn't say it's fair. I wouldn't say it's not fair. I would say, depending on where you go to school, there's a standard set, and you have to adhere to that standard. You can't come in bringing a culture of what you know to something, to a culture that's already um, solidified and has prestige. So
Mm-hmm.
basically, if you're a fool, don't go to a college being a fool, because it's a place of higher education. You're supposed to upgrade your mind, your mindset, and become a pillar of the community. So a lot of people who I'm sure you've seen and I've seen have come from the low economic portion of our communities, and have come and made that change. They adjusted, and
Mm-hmm.
some were already in that adjustment period before they entered someone's school, because they wanted to be different than what they were raised in. They wanted to have a different standard for what they were raised in. I'm not saying it was a low standard or it is a low standard, but at one point in time in a person's life that doesn't have a lot of positive reinforcement in the home, positive reinforcement in their community, going to a HBCU, it elevates that in their mind and their culture. And sometimes it's kind of a strenuous task to get somebody out of that mindset, but that's what education's about. You have to teach, and it's just not the math. It's not just the sciences or the different art disciplines and all of that. It's a social learning opportunity. Everybody that goes to college just doesn't they're just not diving in books. They're learning from other people. That's why college is a beautiful thing, because you're around people that you didn't grow up around, and the cultures are different, and it teaches people how to adjust and be a part of a diverse community. And it's important that we have our schools, our higher institutions, create and maintain high standards for their students, so that once again the United States can be in the upper levels of education in the world, which we have been plummeting for decades now. And it's about cultural standards that people don't want to adhere to when it calls for it.
All right. Now, see, I like that you raising the standard because that's similar to what a lot of the alumni are saying. We're going to have higher expectations, and so we expect you to kind of reach towards that bar. But I'm going to give you the opposite side. Here's some of the things. I never do this, but I'm going to do it now. That was on social
Mm.
media. One person. I'm sorry. I didn't realize school was a fashion show. I came here to learn. So that's anti the new rules. Here's another one. Slippers ain't never did nothing to nobody. And then another one. College is not free. It ain't free at all. And there's going to be a lot of students telling you, get out of here with that. What would you? What's your take and response to those comments? Because the last one especially, that was kind of what you just touched on. College isn't free, so if you spend all your money just trying to get there, it's gonna be hard to kind of spend money to look a certain way. But what do you?
Yeah, and I understand that. I understand that, and I mean, again, people, you have all kinds of folks getting into these institutions that deserve to be there, that have the educational background, or the educational high standard to be there, but they don't have a lot. They don't have the styles and the top trends. They just don't have it. So they're going with what they know, and I understand that. But I know my university and a lot of universities have community partners. They have fraternities. They have sororities. They have uh, things and people that can help you with that. And I understand some of the people that are against this probably, do or do not have that issue. But I mean, it's a standard. We're growing at these institutions, we're literally preparing people for the future and the future professionals. So
Mhm.
we have to teach these young adults to be professional. You're not going to wear, I mean, I'm in Charlotte, North Carolina. You're not going to wear a bonnet going upstairs to the top floor to speak with Hugh McCall. You're not going to go to the Duke, the Duke Power Center with slides on and a wife beater to talk to somebody in a higher level position.
Mhm.
So let's train to do the right thing. And because you're whatever you do, whatever you're wearing, you're literally training yourself to be that when you're out of school. I know we had to do presentations, we had to do verbal presentations, we had to put on a suit. We just
Mhm.
couldn't come in our button down or our jeans. We had to put on a suit. I still have a VHS, by the way. VHS. It's not online. It is not a disc. It's a VHS. The rectangle.
Right.
Uh, I have a VHS of my sophomore year doing a presentation about which is now crazy that we don't really talk about it, of the beginning of streaming music, the Napster and all that, LimeWire. I did a presentation on how that hurts the music, all the artists and the music industry, pirating music. So I had a full suit on, a tie.
Yeah.
I had to get clean,
Right.
and
Right.
we had to do that in every class. We had a public speaking class. We had so many classes where you had to present and you had to be just above casual. So
Right.
it's a standard, and I think people need to adhere to the standard. You're training to be a professional, so let's be professional now, so you're ready for it in the real world.
All right. I'm gonna hit this comment that's here. I attended military school and I had to wear a uniform every day.
Mm-hmm.
That was the standard. That was the requirement. When you attend colleges and universities, you represent those schools. If they have standards, you need to follow them.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
My
Here's another.
first, let me, can I add this?
Uh huh.
I had my first school, 2005. I worked at an elementary school, and they had uniforms. They had white shirts. They had to wear blue slacks or khakis. And we were a Title One school, so that means the students were economically disadvantaged. The majority of the students at the school were economically disadvantaged,
Right.
and in a lot of situations, the parents, you go to Walmart. This is early 2000s. Go to Walmart, get a lot of shirts for a kindergartner for a good price. Nowadays, not so much. Excuse me, but we had community partners that would provide uniforms. And
Mm-hmm.
I was the fashion police. I would see our young men, the fourth graders, the fifth graders, like, they would be wrinkled a little bit and shirts all over the place. I'm like, tuck your shirt in, son. We are a uniform school. Tuck your shirt in, okay? Like, okay, they're elementary kids. You're gonna have chocolate milk stains
Right.
and
Exactly.
corn and you know all the ketchup, and you're gonna all the things. Like, it was gross, but those are kids, and you have to. If that's what we're doing, we are going to adhere to the standard. So I would make sure my kids, I mean kids under 10 years old, are adhering to the dress code. And now I'm at an art school where we don't have uniforms because we want the kids to be creative. We want them to be themselves. And we have a bonnet rule. Don't come to school like that again.
Right.
Mr. Wilder, my hair ain't done. Well, you had all weekend. You could have did something, but we're not doing that. Yeah. So even in the K-12 realm, we have standards, and we don't police the home. But here we have a standard for greatness, and we feel that sleepwear, headgear that is for sleeping and your private residence should not be here. So I'm sorry I had to add that.
No, that was good. Another comment: should I be able to attend class nude? No.
Absolutely not.
All right. So I'm one to the people, because one of the comments that was out there was like, you're taking away our expression. You're taking away, as a culture. So it was more a black person comment, taking away our ability to really kind of express ourselves. Now, as well as I know, and this I don't know when it started, but I know in the 2000s, all of a sudden, all I seen was all white parties, all black parties, theme colored weddings, theme colored funerals, theme colored everything. Mm-hmm. So if when people come from our side, culture wise, saying that argument, people do it all the time. You got rules and regulations on what people need to be wearing all the time. So that's that. But let me flip this a little bit. All right, we talked about it now. There's standards. There's what you need to wear. Mm-hmm. There was a big push 2020, maybe a little bit further back, where it was this whole we want you to be able to bring your whole self. If you're at the job, bring your whole self to work. Bring your whole self to wherever you go and whatever you do. And so a lot of corporations, a lot of schools and other things, we're relaxing their standards. We don't need you to dress up. We don't need you to do this. You don't have to wear a tie. You need, like, companies that used to wear ties all the time, take the tie off, or used to have the business attire. Now you can wear a t-shirt. You can do whatever. Everybody relax themselves because they wanted to make people feel comfortable. And it had a little bit to do with them kind of growing into different types of people, different cultures, sexual orientations, all this kind of stuff. So they thought the growth of that meant that we needed to change kind of our standards. So there's the bring your whole self to work. Mm-hmm. As the church and churches, where we now let people wear anything and everything because they say you need to just be able to come into the church, come as you are. We don't want to block you from God. Would it be a problem if the church did the same thing and had a dress code?
Well, culturally speaking, I would say yes, because when people say the church said, the Lord said, come as you are, he really didn't mean physically, like in regards to the church culture. Come as you are, meaning you're a sinner, you're sorry for it, you have all of this baggage, and some people don't want to come to the church because, oh man, I did so much foolishness last night, and I shouldn't do this. I was drinking, and I was fornicating and smoking weed and all that. I don't want to go to church. Mm-hmm. Jesus said, it's okay, come on, right? Now, there were no words about bonnets in the New Testament. But at the same time, in the African American church, there's a cultural understanding that you dress your best for church, for service. A lot of churches nowadays have changed that up, and it's fine. But no, I think it's inappropriate. Just like school, just like college, it's inappropriate for you to come in to the house of the Lord at all these places, schools, higher institutions of learning. I think the most inappropriate place to dress with a bonnet and a do-rag and all that is the house of the Most High God. You know,
Mhm.
I don't want to. I want to look my best for Jesus. You know, I don't want. You know, I don't care about Raekwon, you know, Ghostface Killer and Cardi B. I don't care about them. You know, go to your concert, you look how you look. You're not gonna wear a bonnet at one of their concerts. You're not gonna wear a bonnet. I mean, you can look at the Beyonce pictures. You're
Mhm.
not gonna wear a bonnet when you go see Beyonce. So you're gonna go wear a bonnet when you're going to see the professor that's going to help you uplift yourself professionally, or you're going to go see
Mhm.
it. You're going to wear a bonnet when you go into Jesus's house.
Right.
But when Beyonce's in town, oh girl, oh, I mean, you know, what's your priority?
Yeah,
What's your
I think.
priority in regards to who's the most important or what is important in your life? And you know, I feel that people should, you know, have a standard set and go with it. We're diminishing our standards as a society. And that's why the United States keeps falling, falling on um, all the different portions of whatever education,
Metrics
science,
and all that. Mhm.
mathematics, business. We're because we're lowering our standards. We're
Mhm.
lowering our standards. Even for K-12 education, the grading scale was lowered. You know, no wonder why we're falling by the wayside in science and math in the world once we were the dominant country with all of that stuff.
Mhm.
You look at a classroom in China, you look at a classroom in the United States. Just look
Yeah.
at it. The kids are, and I'm not saying we need to be that way, but we have to set a standard that is competitive. We are not as globally competitive as we should be as a country because number one, we got fools running it, but number two, we're lowering our standards for our kids.
Right.
And it's if we can't do it in the schools, I challenge the parents. I
Yeah.
challenge the parents. I challenge the parents, the kid, the church kids. You and I were church kid crew. Our parents had a standard for us.
Yep.
And you know, you can tell who has a higher standard. Now, some people aren't taught that way, but it's our job to help the community. And people don't want to, you know, nowadays people don't want to be held accountable for what they lack in knowledge or lack in um, uplifting themselves to be better.
Right. And so, and that, I mean, I think you hit about it. You hit it right on the head. The accountability of what you think is important. Um, uh, Comment. You can wear what you like, but keep in mind that how people deal with you. You may be impacted by what you wear,
Mm-hmm.
and that's true. Now, I'll tell you this: the concern that people have, and I heard this the other day, where somebody was saying, you know, the churches shouldn't have any rules about what, you know, not even rules, but they shouldn't have any expectation or requirement or anything for how you should wear. Nobody should say anything to you or encourage you to do something different because you never want to hear somebody say, well, I didn't come to church because my hair wasn't done, or I didn't come to church because my clothes weren't nice. And
Mm-hmm.
so that was their response. Um, what would you say if somebody said that to you? Like, look, we can't do anything because we don't want anybody to have an excuse for why they didn't come.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I understand that. I understand that. Again, some people have, some people don't. And you know, if you know, sometimes you just got to do what you can with what you have and
Mm-hmm.
come.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you know, when we were teenagers, our church was downtown Richmond, Virginia, where there were a lot of homeless. There were some addicts, and sometimes they would just come in. We didn't shun them.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't shun them. Some we accepted with open arms, and the majority of them wanted a change. And the church should be that help, that change. Like we're not going to turn you away because you're looking crazy or you don't have the suit and tie or all you have is right now is a tank top, a wife beater and slides and some basketball shorts. We're not going to say, "Hey brother, you can't come in here looking like that. Go change and come back." Like, "Hey man, what's up? How you doing?" And let that man, just because somebody's dressing a certain way doesn't mean a behavior that's intolerable is present,
Mm-hmm.
but we
Mm-hmm.
still should have a standard as a church. and that's why the men of the church, the women of the church, you invite that brother in with the wife beater and the basketball shorts. When you getting comfortable and you getting to know him, that's when you say, hey man, what we want to get you some more appropriate clothes for church on Sunday. Like, you want some help with that? We don't mind helping. I mean, people can smooth their way into saying it maybe better than how I just did, but you teach, you
Right.
teach, and some people accept it, some people don't. But hey, I know it's not like on Wednesday we're coming from school and Wednesday service, and we probably had gym or something. It was a little more relaxed, but at the same time, the church shouldn't deny people that want to come in and be a part of the body of Christ and learn.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, it's funny. It's funny that you say that because I think you hit right on the head. It's a difference between a guest and a member.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're a member, there should be standards that you should try to aspire to. Um, I'll say this, and I'm gonna acknowledge I know nothing about this, and I don't think you probably don't either, because we saw this on TV and stuff like that, where they had a fancy restaurant. You show up and you looking like me, and they'll be like, "Sir, this restaurant you must wear a jacket," and then they pull a jacket out from the back
Yeah.
and put it on you,
Yeah.
and that's the only
Mm-hmm.
way you were able to eat in the restaurant because it was a
Mm-hmm.
fancy restaurant. If there was something that they want you to do or something that you have to aspire to be at, then we're going to provide it for you and make sure that you're there. But that should, because you're a guest and you're not on our path or standard or whatever you want to call it. Also, I'll say that certain cultures, certain people, I know some folk. You come to their house, you're not walking into their house with shoes on. Whether you are a guest, whether you are a family member, whoever you are, that's their
Mm-hmm.
rules for their established house.
Yep.
Now, when you get to their house, you go take your shoes off, and they may even give you like some slippers or something like that, maybe,
Mm-hmm.
to come
Yeah.
in. So if we can have those standards like that for our houses and ourselves, and there's a lot of people who have, oh, I got white carpet, you can't be walking on that, and stuff
Mm-hmm.
like that. If we can do that for ourselves, how come we can't do that for the church? And so for me, I've always been that one that be like, look, we can have standards. No one wants something that nobody else wants. If I have a standard and I say, look, only, you got to be a certain way to get up in here, that's going to make you desire it a little bit more, I think,
Mm-hmm.
versus everybody come up in here, we don't care nothing, this is just, it's a game.
Yeah.
And so I think you hit it though. Like you said, you go to a concert, you're gonna dress nice. The things that are important to you, you're gonna dress for.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Here's another one. If you dress like a football player, then I'll treat you as one. If you dress like a thug, I may treat you as a thug. So yeah, the do rags, and I've seen them in the church. I've seen you rocking a do rag in the church. Now I've seen some guys that came straight from the street rocking a do rag in the church. I got
Mm-hmm.
you. That's your first time coming up in here. That's what's up. When you come next week though, because I expect you to be here next week. When you come next week though, try to not have that on, please.
So I remember, I will never forget, as a teenager,
Mm-hmm.
I had the fro, right? You remember, had the fro, and I got one of my dad's old picks with the fist, like
Uh-huh.
authentic. So I'm
Yes.
like, because Ice Cube did it in Higher Learning.
Yep.
Questlove from the Roots was doing it. It was
Yep.
popular. I had the hair to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Shiver. So I'm
Yep.
walking around with the pick, and I would never forget. We're walking down the hall in Grace Street. And we're just being teenagers, just being stupid, whatever, doing what we're doing. We're church kids. That's second home. Pastor Cooper stopped, looked at me like I was crazy. I was like, huh? And he took it out of my head and handed it to me. I didn't do that ever again. There were no words.
Mm-hmm.
He showed me that there is a standard. Like this, I know your mama, I know your daddy. I've known you since you were like a baby. You're not
Mm-hmm.
going to walk around like this here. It was no words, but everything I just said, he said, it was like telepathy. And I never did it again. It
Yeah.
was a teaching moment,
Yeah.
right? So I learned the lesson. And I think nowadays, it's in the Bible, kids are going to be more rebellious. They're not going to listen to their parents as much. That's all of that is in the New Testament, Revelations. Jesus said it in Matthew. It's just going to be like that.
Mm-hmm.
And we're in that time now. That's why my job has been so rough, but a lot of people have it, easier than others. But at the same time, it's not as easy as it was in the 90s, 80s, and 90s to correct not just a child, a teenager, but even adults. It's not as easy. So we have to kind of be a little more, we have to be more discerning in how we approach the people to make them comfortable.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I totally agree with that. I think you hit it on the head. And it's not just the kids, it's the adults. Because if the adults at their home have no standards for them of how they're supposed to go around, then you're not going to be used to it when you hear it from another adult in another setting. You're not going to be used to hearing you can't just come up in any kind of place, any kind of way from your school or from your church or from even your employer. You're not going to be used to it because you never got any of that at home. So I get you on that one. That makes a lot of sense.
And the thing is, you're a teenager, you're a kid, you learn. And I was guilty of it. I was guilty with the pick. I would walk around. I mean, this is the Wu-Tang era. Method Man had the braids, the cornrows. I did it and walk around with a do-rag on and a Wu-Tang shirt. I was guilty of it in school, but what happened? Take that off.
Yeah.
And it happened. It was instantaneous.
Well, look, that was really good. We're at our time. I'll say, and I think you both agree, because you clapped at the beginning, we're both a fan of what Tuskegee is doing. It's a shame that they had to do it because I thought our HBCUs, for the most part, you may have a straggler here and there, but for the most part, we kind of kept it, we knew what time it was. But I guess, times change. But Tuskegee, good job. Hope everybody, considers just standards. All right. With that being said, just want to remind people of our offerings again. On Thursdays, we have our weekly Bible study. That's at 7 o'clock, Thursday, Sunday, we have worship at 10 a.m. That's in person as well on the screen and Facebook and YouTube. And then on Tuesdays from 7 to 7:45, we have a time of prayer. And of course, we have Impact 2026. I want to thank you, Steve, and thank everybody for joining in and all the comments that were given. Have a good one and join us again.
Sometimes you'll wonder